Today we're going to talk about 5 things that you can do to be the firewood person in your area. Here we go. Now a lot of people are going to say, hey, to be the firewood person in your area, you have to have this brand of chainsaw, you have to have this model of chainsaw, you have to have this firewood processor, you have to have this dump trailer, you have to have this kind of truck, you have to have this size of that and this size of that, and you got to have all this stuff. That is not the case. What matters is these 5 things. And if you do these 5 things, you can be the person in your area that is the master of the firewood universe. This is possible. I did it. You can do it. Number 1, this is a 4-letter word and a lot of people are offended by it, but I am sorry. The word is work. You have to work. You have to outwork everyone else. It's the most important ingredient. You got to start with the work. Work is everything. If you're not willing to work, if you can't put in the effort, you're not going to succeed. You're not going to be the person. You have to work harder and more consistently than anybody else. You have to do the things they aren't willing to do. You have to be constantly thinking, how do I get more wood? Where can I cut more wood? Who's got wood that I can get? How can I access this property? Can I pick up that wood over there? This guy knows a guy that knows a guy that can get me wood. And you can offer to help people to get wood. You got to constantly be working. If you've got wood, or if you've got your own property, get to work. Start cutting the trees. Start cutting the stuff that's dead, standing, laying on the ground, falling down, wind blown, storm damaged stuff. Find out from people that are doing tree service work, get their wood. But you got to get to work. And you got to cut, and you got to split, and you got to store your wood. Because it doesn't happen overnight. And you can't sell it unless you have it. And the right number of wood to have, when people ask me, how many cords do you have, Chris? How much wood is the right amount to have to start a business? Another 4-letter word, more. More is the right number. That's all you need. As much as possible. When I first started, I didn't have very much wood because I didn't know. I had no clue. I thought, oh, I got some wood I'll sell and whatever, it'll take time. I had about 40 face cords, or basically 13 full cords, something like that. It sold in about a week and a half, it was gone. And I got to thinking, hey, I could do that again next year. So then I cut even more, and then I cut even more, and then I cut even more. Every year I have doubled my production up until I got to the point where I got as big as I want to be with the time I have and the effort I can put into it. More is the right number. More is the amount of work you need to do. More. More hours, more time. Whenever you get spare time, put time into working on building up your inventory. The next thing that you got to do is you got to strategize. You got to out-strategize everybody else, which means, like I mentioned before, you got to find out as many places as possible that you can source wood that you don't have to pay for it to get going. You need to get a hold of tree service people, have them bring you wood, go to them if you've got a truck or a trailer and you can pick up wood. Pay attention on all of the social media platforms, whether it's Facebook Marketplace, Craigslist, wherever there's people posting stuff where they've got wood they want to get rid of. If you know people that have dead trees, offer to cut them down if you're capable of it and you've got the equipment. If you know people that, say you have relatives that have property, ask them if you can cut some dead trees. If you've got buddies that have some land, ask them if you can go cut some dead trees down. Work on shares. This is, again, strategizing. I had a friend that when I first started cutting wood, he said, take all the wood you want. It's all yours. Just get rid of it. Because it was blocking a lot of the roads on his property. And I asked him, I said, how much can I take? He says, as much as you want. Well, he didn't know how much I wanted. He had no clue. So I started cutting and I cleared it all up and I started working on other areas and other areas. Pretty soon he was like, hey, the cabin here, we need some wood. He said, fill the wood shed and then put a row across there. And he said, I need that first. He said, I need that so that if something happens, I have my backup plan, basically. So I worked kind of on shares for him, along with helping him work on the cabin. I've done some, woodworking for him, built some things for him, did some painting, stuff like that. So whatever you can do to get in the door to help other people first, then go for the ask. That's the way to do it. So just be aware of your area when you're driving around. Look and see if there's someone you know that has dead trees. Stop in and say, hey, I cut firewood. I see you got a dead tree. Are you guys going to cut that up for yourself? You're going to hire someone to do it? Because I would do it for free if it's in an area that you can do it safely and do all that, especially if you know people. I have people now call me all the time. I get at least once a week, somebody will call and say, hey, Chris, we've got some trees. Would you like them? Or Chris, I had a tree service take down a tree and all the logs are laying in my yard. Would you like them? Or I've got a tree service coming. Do you want the wood? Because they're going to charge me to get rid of it. So if you want it, you can come get it. I get that all the time from people that get a hold of me. And sometimes it's a good deal. Sometimes it's not a good deal. Sometimes it's wood I don't want. Sometimes it's too much work for the effort that I have to put into it for what I'm going to get. Sometimes it's crappy wood. So that happens. So strategize. Always be thinking, how can I get more wood? Now, one of the things that I have found out with my firewood business is that when it comes to making firewood, I can make more dollars per hour buying wood because I can buy semi-truck loads at a time, get the right kind of wood, run it through the processor or cut it with the chainsaw, split it up, get it into the bins so that it can start drying. I don't have to spend nearly as much time doing that as I do going out and trying to find wood. When I have to go try to find wood, obviously you're spending time looking. A lot of times it's not close by, you got to drive to get it. A lot of times you have to manually get it off the property because you can't just drive anywhere you want, so you got to carry it or wheelbarrow it or use a little hand cart, truck, whatever. Sometimes you're going to have to work a little harder to get wood, and that's just the way it is, and I don't mind that. It's one of the reasons I got into firewood is I wanted the exercise, so that's huge for me is the exercise. This is my man gym, as I like to call it. So also in the strategizing, you got to think about what equipment can I get that's going to make me more efficient, which means a better, bigger, more professional chainsaw, a better, faster, more powerful splitter, a bigger, more capable dump trailer, a bigger truck. Those are all things that I went through. When I started my business, I had one 50cc chainsaw, a splitting maul, and a small truck. When I say small truck, I had a Honda Ridgeline years ago. That's what I started with. I didn't even have a real truck, as my brother calls it. It was okay, it did the job. I didn't even have a trailer. I borrowed a little cargo trailer from a buddy of mine that I could put 2 face cords in, or 2/3 of a cord, if I stacked it perfectly. It was a 5x8 trailer. It worked fine for a whole year, and I sold lots of wood. The first 2 years, actually, that's all I used. And you got to think about, how can I do this without borrowing money? Don't go borrowing a bunch of money to buy equipment that you don't even have a business for yet. It's the #1 way to fail. Borrow a bunch of money, not have any sales yet, and then all of a sudden think you're going to make a bunch of money because you got this equipment. You don't have any product yet, and wood is not something you could turn around fast unless you've got a kiln. And there again, a kiln, you're talking $250,000 at least for one kiln. So if you got a spare $250,000 and you got another $100,000 that you want to spend on chainsaws and trailers and trucks, and then maybe you got another $150,000 you want to put into a processor, and maybe another $20,000 to put in a good wood splitter, go for it. If you got that kind of money laying around, you probably shouldn't be doing firewood. You should be doing something else. But I like doing it. It's great exercise. So strategize. How can you get from point A to point B? Where are you at? Where do you want to get? And then just work your plan. Have a plan, figure out what you can do, and think about your market and what it will bear. Those are all things that matter. Strategize. The next one kind of ties in with the strategy. You have to outlearn your competition. You have to outlearn everybody else, which means watch YouTube channels. Find out about what kind of wood sells the best. Find out about what size works best for the market. What market do you have? Find out when you live in an area that's everybody heats with wood, they're probably going to want boiler size wood. They're going to want bigger chunks for their big wood stoves. If you live in more of a metropolitan area or suburbs like I do, you're going to have more fireplace people or people with a fire pit. They're going to want smaller chunks, smaller quantities, but smaller chunks. But they'll also pay more. So again, you got to learn this stuff. It doesn't just happen overnight. I have learned so much on YouTube, watching YouTube, doing YouTube, having people tell me what to do on YouTube, and I appreciate it. Some of the stuff, yeah, I heard it 1,000 times, but that's okay. Some of the stuff, every once in a while, somebody will throw a golden nugget at me, and it's like, I never thought of that. Outlearn everybody else. Always be absorbing and talking to other people about it. Find out ways. These bins are something I came up with for drying wood. Other people on the channel long ago were telling me, 4 years ago, like, why do you stack wood? What a waste of time. And I'm thinking, well, you got to stack wood because it'll dry good that way. You get it off the ground. Well, yeah, if you leave it laying on the ground, but these have pallets underneath and they're in a bin, it can breathe just fine. The wood dries great here. That's something that I learned by listening to the big producers. They don't touch the wood. They put it in big, huge cones. The cones of wood are 30 feet high, and it sits on gravel. They don't do anything special with the wood other than process it, let it sit for 6 months, scoop it up, put it into a truck, deliver it. And then there's other guys that have kilns, but they're at a whole nother level. They are people that are, getting the wood. And in the case of Art Forest Products, they used to buy truckloads of wood. Now they cut all their own woods. They became their own logger. They bought the equipment, but it didn't happen overnight. He strategized. How can he get to where he's more efficient to make more money per hour of effort put into it? In the beginning, you're going to have to put a lot of work into it. Like I said, that's the number one, is the work. And then you got to out-strategize. And then you got to out-learn. Learn as much as you can about how to do this. That is important. Learn, learn, learn. You never know too much. And I always think of myself, when I go anywhere, I'm the dumbest person in the room. You know why? Because I don't want to tell everybody what I know. I mean, I will if they ask me, but I want to find out from the other guys, what do they know that I don't know? I want to learn from other people. Ask a lot of questions. That's the best thing to do, and that's what you guys should do when you're on YouTube. If there's something you don't know, ask. Doesn't matter. Everybody's at a different level. Some people are beginners. Some people have been burning wood their whole life. For like 100 years, they've been burning wood. They know everything there is to know. There's a lot of good information on YouTube, reading, going to conventions, talking to other people. Learn, learn, learn. The next one is you got to outlast everybody else. You cannot give up. 100% chance. If you give up, you will never get to where you're going. And you also, there's a saying that says, you can't steer a parked car. If you stop, or you give up, or if you don't even start for that matter, you're not going anywhere. You got to always be moving forward, and you got to not give up. This is a marathon. This is a wood marathon. And firewood, like I said before, it doesn't just fall off of the trees and you can sell it. You got to harvest it. You got to get it. You got to haul it. You got to cut it. You got to split it. You got to dry it. You got to haul it, sell it, stack it, whatever it is you do with your wood. It takes time and a lot of effort. I like doing it. I'm not complaining. I'm just saying you got to outlast everybody else. Don't give up. Keep going. All things that are good in life are not easy. There are some easy things that are pretty good, but most things that are really good in life are not very easy. Some of the best things in life are actually quite hard, because when you achieve a goal, when you work towards something for a very long time, it means a lot more to you. It's like if you give a kid $100, he's just going to go blow it. But if he has to earn it and he doesn't get any more, you don't just hand it out to him, he's going to value that money a little bit more, especially after he learns the lesson of the tax man and of that once it's gone, it's gone. So when it comes to outlearning other people, this is something that stuck with me since I was a kid. My grandpa told me this one time. He said, and I didn't know what it meant when he first told me, he says, yeah, in life you're going to find out that there's a lot of really smart people, but there's a lot of lazy smart people, and they don't usually go too far. He said there's a lot of very highly educated derelicts. I didn't know what derelict was. I thought it was a ship, which it kind of is, one that's not working, which is what a person is when they don't work. They're a derelict. Somebody that is wasting their time and resources. Don't waste your time and resources. Like I said, there's a lot of people that have this saying, I hear this all the time, work smarter, not harder. I don't believe in that. You have to work harder at being smart and work smarter at working hard. You have to do it both simultaneously at the same time. Because if you don't work hard, being smart's not going to get you anywhere. And if you're really smart but you don't work, you don't get anywhere. It takes the two of them together. So don't be a smart, lazy person. I know you're smart, but don't be lazy. And if you're lazy, use your brain and get off your butt. And if you're really smart and you're lazy, it's a shame, because there's a lot of wasted talent in the world. Get to work, get to work, get to work. Number 5, you have to outwork everybody else. Yes, it's in here twice because it's the most important part. If you don't work harder than everybody else, you're not going to get there. You might get somewhere, but you got to work. I look for every moment I can find to be in the wood yard and work on either cutting, splitting, piling, delivering, doing wood, cleaning up, whatever it is I got to do, building bins, sharpening saws, everything I can do to progressively work towards more wood, which is the right number. You got to constantly be working. You can't ever give up. If you got a free hour, use it. Use it on firewood if that's your goal. Whatever you want to accomplish in life is not going to happen overnight. Everybody looks at, the superstar athletes and they think, oh, they're so lucky, they're talented. You have no idea how hard they work to get where they are. Basketball players, they're shooting hundreds of thousands of times. Football players, do you think they get that big just by sitting around watching Netflix? I kind of doubt it. I'm pretty sure they're lifting weights, they're doing wind sprints, they're probably nutritionally doing everything they can. They're constantly probably analyzing film of what other people have done and what they've done. They're constantly trying new techniques. They're constantly learning how to do new moves, whatever it is, whatever sport they do. They're constantly learning. That's why they have training camp for everyone. So everyone's cohesive. They know what they're doing. They have a plan. They work the plan. They've got their plays. It all works together. It doesn't just happen. So, outwork. There you go. There's 5 things you can do to be successful, not just in firewood, but pretty much in life, I think. That's all I got for today, folks. Poke the buttons. I'll be back tomorrow morning, 5:30 a.m. Another video for you. Right now, go watch all the other videos. There is 1,500 waiting for you. Good night, Irene.